Asia has witnessed numerous shocking crimes in recent years. Among them, two cases from Thailand and South Korea have drawn special attention today, not only for their tragic nature, but also for the profound questions they raise about human nature and justice. The first case is one of the most mysterious and bizarre cases from the first half of 2023 in Thailand. Let's first look at a surveillance video recorded on April 14, 2023. In the frame, we see two women. The one on the left wearing black is Siraporn Kanwong, a merchant, and the one on the right wearing white is Sararat Rangsiwuthaporn, or Sararat for short. The two had only known each other for a short time and were there to perform a good deed, releasing fish into the river to earn merit. When they were about to walk down the stairs leading to the riverbank, something unusual happened. Sararat said something to Siraporn and suddenly turned around, walking to the opposite side of the road, while Siraporn continued down the stairs alone. Notably, Sararat didn't appear to be doing anything specific, but rather seemed to be secretly observing Siraporn's every move from a distance. Although they had initially planned to release fish together, Sararat showed hesitation and refused to go down to the riverbank as planned. At that moment, an unexpected event occurred. Siraporn suddenly collapsed by the riverbank. Nearby pedestrians immediately rushed to help. Despite witnessing the entire incident, Sararat, who was supposed to be Siraporn's friend, showed no concern or urgency. Instead, she calmly returned to her car, took something out, and then slowly approached the scene. Even more strangely, she then left the riverbank alone and drove away, abandoning her friend who was in critical condition. This behavior completely contradicts the normal reaction of a friend. In similar situations, when two people meet outside and one suddenly faints, even without first aid knowledge, the other should stay beside them to wait for and assist with emergency care. Sararat's hasty and indifferent departure raised many suspicions and could hardly be rationally explained. After being rushed to the hospital, Siraporn still died from cardiac paralysis. Her family could not accept this as Siraporn had always been in good health. How could she suddenly die from cardiac paralysis? The incident quickly attracted public attention after media coverage, especially due to Sararat's indifferent attitude toward her friend's critical condition. Police investigation revealed suspicious details. After Siraporn's death, many of her personal belongings had disappeared without a trace, including her car, luxury handbags, mobile phone, and cash amounting to about $1,450. The victim's car was later found parked in front of Sararat's house, which could be explained by the fact that on that fateful day, Siraporn had driven to Sararat's house first, then both went to the riverbank in Sararat's car. However, the three other belongings remained completely untraceable. When summoned by the police, Sararat gave an unconvincing explanation. She claimed that at the time of the incident, she suddenly remembered an urgent matter that needed to be addressed, and since she saw many people already helping Siraporn, she decided to leave without waiting for the outcome of the emergency care. This excuse was obviously unconvincing, but initially the police couldn't proceed further with the investigation. Preliminary examination results found no abnormal signs, and evidence from surveillance cameras didn't record any arguments between Sararat and Siraporn. The case seemed like it would fade into oblivion after a week. The situation unexpectedly changed when Thai media and authorities began receiving a series of complaints from citizens. These people shared an astonishing common point. They claimed that their relatives or friends had also known Sararat, and tragically, all these people had died in mysterious circumstances. Preliminary statistics showed that the number of victims related to Sararat reached 14, including 2 high-ranking police officers, a major and a captain. This was just an initial count and might increase during the investigation. These revelations raised a series of questions. Who was Sararat really? What was the deep-seated motive behind this string of murders? And how could she carry out so many sophisticated murders without leaving a trace? Sararat Rangsiwuthaporn, 36 years old and 4 months pregnant, had a seemingly normal background. Graduating from Nakhon Pathom Rajabhat University in 2009, she was an ordinary person in the memories of teachers and classmates. Her career journey began as a life insurance broker before marrying a police lieutenant colonel and transitioning to a full-time housewife role after having children. Although divorced for several years, Sarah Rat and her ex-husband still maintained a shared household, ostensibly for the sake of caring for their two children, a 13-year-old daughter and a 10-year-old son. Her personal life took a turn when she met a new man, who later became the father of the child she was carrying. However, a tragic event occurred on March 12th this year, which was also her new boyfriend's birthday. After they both went to a temple to pray for blessings, he suddenly experienced symptoms of nausea, severe vomiting, and quickly fell unconscious upon returning home. Throughout this process, Sarah Rat was by his side. Despite the police and ambulance being dispatched quickly to the scene, all resuscitation efforts were futile, and the boyfriend did not survive. Since she was pregnant with his child, the police at the scene and the boyfriend's relatives didn't suspect anything, assuming it was simply a natural death. But a friend of her boyfriend thought differently. From beginning to end, he was suspicious about the incident because on that afternoon, after attending her boyfriend's funeral, Sarah Rat cheerfully organized a birthday party with her ex-husband at another location. What kind of distorted psychology would allow someone to do that? Therefore, this friend secretly photographed all the evidence at the scene, hoping it might be useful someday. Indeed, his efforts were not in vain. When Sarah Rat could no longer hide in the shadows because of Siraporn's death, he presented the police with a small bottle found at the scene with the marking UN1680. After analysis, experts identified it as potassium cyanide, an extremely toxic chemical. Under normal conditions, it appears as white or colorless crystals, emitting a distinctive almond odor mixed with sugar scent, and has the property of dissolving quickly in water. Its danger is demonstrated by its extremely low lethal dose. Just 120 milligrams is enough to take the life of an adult. The poisoning process is rapid and devastating. Victims will fall into a coma or deep sleep within 45 minutes after exposure, and if there is no emergency medical intervention in the next 2 hours, death is inevitable. The question arose, had all the victims died from this sophisticated poisoning method? Forensic examination confirmed this hypothesis when potassium cyanide residue was detected in Siraporn's body, albeit in small amounts. With these clues, the police conducted a comprehensive search of locations related to Sarah Rat. In the trash burning area just about 16 feet from her house, they found discarded clothes along with a bottle containing suspicious black liquid. The search at Sarah Rat's ex-husband's house revealed a storage of unlabeled drugs and especially potassium cyanide hidden in the driver's seat compartment of a car. Even at the deceased boyfriend's residence, a bottle of chemicals with similar components was found. In a paradoxical development, the car containing the harmful substance was identified as belonging to Sarah Rat's ex-husband. When interrogated, he justified that it was a shared vehicle between the two. From the evidence collected on April 26th, the police officially arrested both Sarah Rat and her ex-husband for investigation. An important question raised was why potassium cyanide became so difficult to detect in the victims' bodies. According to a Thai medical expert's explanation, after 24 hours of entering the body, about 80% of the toxic substance has been decomposed. This means that when autopsies are performed, the poison has usually almost disappeared. If testing is not conducted immediately after the victim's death, traces of potassium cyanide will become undetectable. From the analysis results, police constructed the hypothesis that all victims related to Sarah Rat might have died from potassium cyanide poisoning. This hypothesis was strengthened when examination results of 14 victims, all healthy young people aged between 22 and 45 with good economic conditions, all identified the same cause of death as sudden cardiac paralysis. Among these victims was a female police officer. She died on April 1st, 2023, with potassium cyanide components also detected in her body. The place where she last fainted was captured by surveillance cameras, and the person sitting next to her was Sarah Rat. This female police officer was a colleague of Sarah Rat's ex-husband. Among many victims, besides those she met later, even an old classmate who had known Sarah Rat for more than 10 years couldn't escape her evil hands. This deceased person was Sarah Rat's high school friend, who was then working with her in the same company. After he suddenly passed away, the last photo in his phone gallery was one taken with her. Sararat's crimes could be traced back to 2015. The first person suspected of being poisoned was named Montati, then 37 years old. Having married a foreigner, she lived abroad for about 3 years, but on the day she returned to Thailand, Sararat picked her up and drove her home. A few hours later, she died from acute heart failure. Montati's mother said her daughter knew Sararat because they worked together doing charitable deeds. Normally, her daughter would also lend money to Sararat. Later, Sararat didn't attend Montati's funeral, and using some unknown means, she forged documents declaring that Montati's husband had authorized her to handle his wife's assets. She then sold Montati's house for 3.5 million baht, approximately $101,500, and moved all the electronics and furniture from the house. So why did she target these people? In the subsequent investigation, the police found the answer. They investigated Sararat and her ex-husband's financial situation, discovering that she owed a huge debt due to credit card spending, informal loans, and online gambling. And all the victims had one thing in common. They had financial ties to her. After investigating all of Sararat's bank accounts, police found that more than 14 people regularly transferred money to her. According to statistics, there were a total of 20 people, and all 20 had died. Additionally, there were other victims, and police were investigating whether they were related to Sararat. This means the number of people who died at her hands could be even higher. As the case increasingly attracted public and media attention, an important witness emerged. Kandima, a young woman, proactively contacted the police to share her astonishing story. She believed she had been Sararat's failed murder target. The connection between Kandima and Sararat stemmed from the relationship between the men in their lives. Kandima's husband and Sararat's ex-husband were classmates at the Royal Police Academy. Early last year, Kandima had lent Sararat about $7,250, but Sararat seemed to have no intention of repaying. After months of futile waiting, Kandima began pressuring her for the debt in the latter half of the year. The situation took a turn in September, when Kandima unfortunately contracted COVID-19. Sararat, with suspiciously attentive care, voluntarily visited and brought along pills that she claimed were effective COVID-19 special treatment. Without suspicion, Kandima was touched by this kindness and took the medicine. Afterward, Kandima drove Sararat to a nearby shopping mall for a meal. But then, she quickly experienced severe breathing difficulties and stiffness in her fingers. With quick reflexes, Kandima immediately called emergency services, a decision that saved her life. Notably, Kandima initially attributed these symptoms to COVID-19 complications, so she didn't request a blood test. Only after Sararat's case broke did she realize she might have narrowly escaped death, becoming the only known surviving victim in Sararat's chain of crimes so far. When analyzing Sararat's victims more deeply, a sophisticated financial pattern gradually emerged. The victims could be classified into 5 main groups based on their financial relationships with Sararat. Those participating in money pools, direct loan borrowers, high-interest loan borrowers, car collateral borrowers, and insurance groups, along with some cases where the relationship wasn't clearly defined. At the center of this network was the shared money pool system, a popular financial investment method in many Southeast Asian countries. This wasn't simply a form of collective saving, but also a sophisticated tool helping Sararat screen those who truly had abundant financial resources. The mechanism of this group was quite simple. Sararat established groups from a few people to more than a dozen members, with herself as the administrator. Members committed to periodic contributions to a common fund. When a member needed money urgently, they could receive the total amount in the fund, then continue contributing until everyone received their share. The more money one contributed to the group, the more one could take each time. Police discovered a money game group managed by Sararat in her phone. In the group of 7 people, besides her as the administrator, among the 6 others, 5 had died. And the only survivor was because after playing twice, they couldn't even pay $435, so they stopped playing. Unexpectedly, this saved their life. After filtering out those who really had money, Sararat would invite the target to make money through other ways. For example, for victims in the loan group, She would start with small loans, then pay very high interest. Later, the loans would get increasingly larger, and repayments would no longer be on time. When creditors demanded money, that's when they were about to die. According to the testimony of one victim's husband, his wife in 2020 had lent Sararat about $2,900. Afterward, she sent diet pills to his wife, but unexpectedly, after taking them, blood flowed from the corners of her mouth, and her lips and nails all turned black. And all this happened in front of their 5-year-old son. It's hard to imagine the mental trauma the child had to endure. The high-interest group and the loan group were similar, only differing in that the borrower was someone else. Then there was the insurance group, where Sararat would persuade the target to buy some insurance with good terms. After they died, she forged documents to become the beneficiary. She could do this because Thai law stipulates that if the insured still has debts when alive, then the insurance money must first be used to repay creditors. Therefore, Sararat only needed to make herself the creditor of the target to conveniently receive the insurance money. Finally, there was the car collateral group. If the target needed money urgently, she could help collateralize the car in their name to quickly receive a mortgage loan. Although this victim received a loan through car collateralization, on the very evening of receiving the mortgage of $4,350, they mysteriously died, and the money also disappeared. The most bizarre thing was that after a period when the female victim passed away, someone contacted the family, informing them that the deceased had mortgaged the car before death and urgently needed $4,350 to retrieve it. Therefore, the family paid the money and got the car back. But among more than 10 of these victims, some completely lacked the money to retrieve their cars. In addition, among the victims of the high-interest and insurance groups, there were also cases where debts were collected after death. Therefore, Sararat not only killed people, stole money, took their cars, but finally also scammed money from the victims' relatives. It's truly difficult to describe how evil this woman was. We can see that Sararat's method of committing crimes was when she held a certain amount of the victim's money, she would invite the target to go out or dine together. Then, during this time, she would take the opportunity to put potassium cyanide into their food or drink. Or she would mix the poison into capsules under the guise of diet pills or COVID-19 medicine to trick victims into taking them. Potassium cyanide is a controlled substance in Thailand. Possession and trading are illegal acts. So how did she obtain such a large amount of poison? Through investigation, police discovered that this potassium cyanide all came from a chemical company near Bangkok airport. It could be easily purchased online. In this company, sales invoices were also found. According to statistics, from July last year until now, 32 bottles of potassium cyanide had been sold. Over the years, a total of more than 1,500 bottles had been sold, and a 250-gram bottle of potassium cyanide like that could make more than 1,000 poison pills. Currently, the police are investigating each buyer. On May 4th this year, Thai police announced news that shocked everyone. There was an actress with box office revenue of more than $2.9 million who was also a customer of this chemical company. And actresses with box office revenue of more than $2.9 million could be counted on one hand. In a short time, citizens buzzed with discussion. Regardless, such a dangerous chemical that could be purchased so easily, allowing Sararat to use it to kill many people, means the relevant regulatory authorities in Thailand must bear significant responsibility. The amount of potassium cyanide sold is so large, what it was actually used for makes one think and shudder. So there's still an issue, many wonder, with so many victims. Was it really just Sararat alone? Did she have any other accomplices? Sararat's criminal network seemed not limited to her and her ex-husband. During the expanded investigation, police discovered a miniature poisoning laboratory at the home of Sararat's half-sister. Here, they found a storage of medicines carefully classified into more than 10 groups, each containing about 10 pills, and all containing potassium cyanide. According to the analysis of investigation experts, this arrangement was highly strategic. If one type of medicine was suspected and tested, the remaining types, although also laced with poison, would not be examined. creating the illusion that only one specific type of medicine contained the poison. This tactic aimed to mislead the investigation process and create doubt about the true cause of death. The forensic report revealed even more terrifying details. The amount of potassium cyanide in each pill was calculated and measured with astonishing accuracy, showing that this was not an impulsive crime, but a meticulously prepared plan executed with cold calculation. The investigation also identified an important accomplice, a friend of Sarah Rat who had helped her purchase potassium cyanide on online platforms from at least 3 years ago. This discovery not only extended the time frame of the crime chain, but also showed the level of preparation and long-term calculation in Sarah Rat's murder plan. The case became more complex when on May 23rd, Sarah Rat's defense lawyer was also arrested by the police, although later, due to professional privilege, the arrest warrant was converted to a summons for questioning. The charges aimed at this lawyer were identical to those against Sarah Rat's ex-husband, providing false evidence to help criminals evade legal responsibility. This defense lawyer had previously helped Sarah Rat handle some economic disputes. This time, he initially only took the case related to Siriporn's death, but then changed his story, saying that no matter how many cases there were, he would help defend. He even boasted that Sarah Rat would absolutely not admit guilt, and with strange confidence said that after 80 days, he could bail her out. These bold statements confused both the public and investigators. With the substantial amount of evidence collected, from the poison in the victims' bodies to finding potassium cyanide at multiple locations related to Sarah Rat, the lawyer's continued display of above-normal confidence made many people question. Was this just a tactic to pressure the prosecutor, or did he really hold a secret card that could change the entire course of the case? A notable turning point occurred in mid-May, when Sarah Rat initially showed signs of admitting her crimes, but then suddenly changed her stance. This change was revealed to be the result of a legal strategy proposed by her lawyer, a strategy that many evaluated as both bold and unethical. In her new statement, Sarah Rat made a shocking declaration. She claimed that Siriporn was actually a drug addict, and on that fateful day, Siriporn had actively requested potassium cyanide to mix with other stimulants to create a new experience. According to Sarah Rat, she merely fulfilled her friend's request without any intention to cause harm. To reinforce this implausible story, Sarah Rat even added the detail that the source of the poison wasn't even from her, but all belonged to her deceased boyfriend. Currently, this case is still in the process of evidence collection and trial. Although the number of known victims has reached 20, the total amount of money they transferred to Sarah Rat was only about $200,000. While police investigation found that up to 78 million Thai baht, equivalent to $2,275,000, had been transferred through Sarah Rat's account to 12 people. Among these people, could there be her accomplices? And what is the source of this enormous amount of money? Does she represent the fact that there are still many undiscovered victims? Just thinking about it is enough to send chills down one's spine. Moreover, even if Sarah Rat's charges are established, she is likely to avoid the death penalty because she is 4 months pregnant. According to Thai law, no criminal can be executed during pregnancy. The death penalty can be delayed for a maximum of 3 years. If after 3 years the child is still alive, then the death penalty will automatically be commuted to life imprisonment. Next is a case that occurred in South Korea. In April 2021, an attention-grabbing missing person banner appeared at Hanggang Park in South Korea. The heartbreaking message on the banner called for information about Son Jung-min, a 22-year-old medical student at the prestigious Chung-Ang University who had disappeared under mysterious circumstances. According to family information, Jung-min was in his youthful prime, full of passion and enjoying moments with friends. Having just endured the pressure of midterm exams and stressful anatomy classes, he decided to seek a moment of relaxation with a friend, referred to in the press as A, on that fateful late night. They chose Hanggang Park as their destination, a location not far from Jung-min's home and famous for its ideal nighttime scenery for friend gatherings. What terrified the family was that after that night, Jung-min completely vanished, not returning home and unreachable by any means. In this age of technology and surveillance cameras covering every corner, the sudden disappearance of a university student raised many questions and deep concerns about his fate. Had something bad happened to him? After the incident was reported, it attracted social attention. Many people prayed for his safe return. Police and civilian rescue teams also began participating in the search and investigation. 5 days later, Jung-min's body was discovered floating on the Han River. The discovery location was the same area where he and his friend had been drinking. After the autopsy, police determined the cause of death to be drowning. At this point, perhaps people would think this was simply an accident of falling into the water after drinking. However, this seemingly simple event caused continuous uproar in South Korean society and created a major storm in public opinion. 1 month after the incident, on May 16th, under a light rain by the Han River, a group of people gathered to protest. All of them held up signs reading, "Find the truth about the death," shouting slogans like, "Catch the killer," "Is friend A the murderer?" To understand the mystery behind Jung-min's mysterious death, we need to return to the beginning of the story, following each piece of the timeline to unveil the truth that remains hidden. On the 24th at 9:27 p.m., the fateful exchange began when the friend called A texted Jung-min. The message was quite simple. A had just finished drinking with another group of friends but still felt unsatisfied, so he wanted to invite Jung-min to continue for round 2. Without any sign of reluctance, Jung-min quickly and enthusiastically a convenient choice for a late-night meeting. Before leaving home, Jung-min informed his parents of his plans. As a university student with good social skills and an outgoing personality, late-night outings were nothing unusual for Jung-min. Typically in similar situations, he would always return home early the next morning, so Jung-min's parents, accustomed to their son's schedule, had no worries or suspicions when he walked out the door on that fateful night. At 10:53 p.m., Jung-min and his friend stopped at a convenience store near Hanggang Park. They bought 2 bottles of soju and 2 bottles of sake, then strolled leisurely toward the riverbank. Their journey was clearly captured by surveillance cameras at 11:08 p.m. when both walked side by side through a small tunnel, the last images showing Jung-min alive. Perhaps realizing they had drinks but lacked snacks, they stopped at another convenience store along the way to buy food, some items for their nighttime picnic, and chocolate milk. By around 11:30 p.m., the two had found an ideal spot for their late-night gathering, a perfect view of the Banpo Bridge with its shimmering lights reflecting on the water, accompanied by the cool breeze of the Han River gently blowing. Notably, despite the late hour, the surrounding area was still quite lively. Many other groups of young people were also enjoying the night atmosphere in the park, while on the walkways, local residents were still leisurely strolling or walking their pets. At 12:45 a.m., after finishing all 4 bottles of alcohol but still not satisfied, the two went back to the convenience store. This time they bought a bottle of soju and a bottle of rice wine. Friend A also bought a data cable to charge his phone. 30 minutes later, at 1:30 a.m., the two were at the convenience store again buying 2 bottles of soju and a bottle of rice wine. The store's camera recorded both of them. At this point, the surveillance cameras couldn't yet determine their condition, but after leaving the convenience store, park cameras captured the two suddenly starting to run. Were they already drunk by this time? In Jung-min's phone, investigators found a call record between him and a delivery person. The convenience store footage also captured him on the phone. On the walking path near Banpo Bridge, the two met a delivery person and received some delivered food. According to the delivery person, it was evident that both were somewhat drunk, still holding the newly purchased rice wine bottle in an excited state. But there weren't just 1 or 2 people drinking by the Han River late into the night. The delivery person didn't pay much attention and didn't have a strong impression of the two. Although slightly drunk, Jung-min still maintained his clarity at that time, because at this moment, he still knew to send a reassuring text to his mother. "There are really a lot of people here. I'll be home right after." After receiving the message, his mother went to bed with peace of mind. The night grew later, but the effects of alcohol hadn't worn off. By this time, They had consumed a total of 9 bottles of various alcoholic drinks. At 2:10 a.m., Jung-min was still recording video of himself playing with his friend. In the video, both appeared hazy, repeating meaningless conversations, then falling onto the grass to sleep. From 11 p.m. to 2 a.m., they had been together for a long time. But then at 4:25 a.m., park surveillance cameras only captured friend A walking out of the park alone, while Jung-min couldn't be seen from any angle. So what happened to Jung-min during the period from 2 a.m. to 4:25 a.m.? The person who was with him, A, is the only one who knows what happened during these 2 hours. But A said his memory only goes up to the time of the video recording, after which it's fragmented, and he remembers nothing more. The dead cannot come back to life, and the only person who can tell the truth has no memory. Did A really experience memory loss, or is he deliberately hiding something? As mentioned earlier, during the period from 2 a.m. to 4:25 a.m., only A knows exactly what happened. A said he had a memory gap and couldn't remember anything, but Jung-min's father had a different perspective. According to Jung-min's father, the first time he felt A was a bit strange was on the day Jung-min went missing. After a day of searching for his son without results, he could only turn to A again, hoping he might remember something. But A was hesitant, unable to say anything, and instead mentioned to Jung-min's father that recently Jung-min had been under great pressure due to his grandmother's passing and the heavy academic workload. Jung-min's father found this very odd, not only because his son had never shared these sorrows with him, but also because other close friends of his son had never heard about it either. Why would A suddenly mention this after Jung-min went missing? What and his family. A had awakened from sleep around 3:30 a.m. and called home, saying he couldn't wake up Jung-min no matter what. His mother told him to make sure to wake his friend up, take him home, and then return home immediately. But when A woke up around 4:30 a.m., he couldn't find Jung-min. A thought Jung-min had gone home, so he left by himself. At 4:51 a.m., A took a taxi home. Hearing the noise, his mother came out of her room. It wasn't her son's. She woke A up and asked if he had taken Jung-min home. After not receiving a clear answer, A's parents worried that Jung-min might still be sleeping in the park or collapsed on the road, so they drove A back to Hangang Park. Surveillance cameras at Hangang Park around 5 a.m. captured images of A walking by. By this time, he had changed into different clothes and was searching for Jung-min in the surrounding areas with his parents. After wandering around the scene for a while and finding no search results, they called Jung-min's mother at 5:30 a.m. to ask if Jung-min had returned home. It was only at this point that Jung-min's family learned their son was missing. Jung-min's father suspected that the actions of A's parents after learning of Jung-min's disappearance seemed unusual. River first. Was there something at the scene they didn't want the friend's family to know? Many people also suspect that, although only an hour apart, the images of A captured on video don't look like someone who was completely drunk. He could still step over the railings normally. If he really had memory loss, could he walk so normally? But in other surveillance videos released later, A clearly couldn't control himself, repeatedly lying on the main road and being recorded vomiting violently in a garage. Second point, A had handled related personal items. After learning that Jung-min was missing, Jung-min's family continuously called his phone, trying to contact him. But after the third call, the person speaking on the other end was A. It was then they learned the truth that the two had mistakenly taken each other's phones, and A's phone by this time couldn't be called anymore and was nowhere to be found. What's stranger is that A seemed unconcerned about losing his phone. According to Jung-min's father, A quickly processed the application for a new phone, as if he already knew his phone wouldn't be found. Did the missing phone record important clues about the incident that could lead to suspicion of A, so A deliberately disposed of it? What made Jungmin's father more suspicious was that A claimed that when they were both a bit drunk, Jungmin had fallen to the ground, and to take care of him, he also struggled on the grass, with his shoes getting completely dirty from mud and water. When Jungmin's father wanted to find some clues about his son's whereabouts from the shoes, A's family directly replied that the shoes had been thrown away. Thrown away already? Although how to handle mud-covered and vomit-stained shoes is A's right, the father who lost his son Jungmin was sensitive to everything. He believed that A's seemingly normal actions showed signs of concealing the truth. Third point, A's strange behavior when accepting police investigation. After the case occurred, A and his family were very cooperative when receiving police statement investigations. To help A remember something, the police even conducted hypnosis interrogation with him, but the hypnosis yielded no results. The police also didn't find anything unusual. But this still couldn't convince Jungmin's father to give up his suspicion, and even made him more certain about his suspicion toward A. Because when accepting the police investigation, A didn't go alone. His family had hired a lawyer to accompany him. Jungmin's father believed this was just a witness statement taking, so why did A need to hire a lawyer to accompany him? If he was certain he hadn't done anything disadvantageous to Jungmin, wasn't hiring a lawyer redundant? Jungmin's father, not trusting the police, published his suspicions on his personal blog and in media interviews. The unfortunate death of a prestigious university student, and these three seemingly reasonable points of suspicion immediately aroused sympathy and pity from parents of the same age group. Using Jungmin's father's blog as a basis, they quickly gathered, demanding that the police make the investigation process public and detain A for questioning. The impact of the case gradually expanded, becoming one of the most discussed news items in South Korean society at that time. Jungmin's father's statements about A also quickly became news, dominating the front pages. At the same time, many personal bloggers were also very interested in this matter. Within a week after the Jungmin incident broke out, there were more than 5,000 related creative videos on YouTube. Public attacks against A's family became increasingly fierce, even with rumors like, A's father's brother is a high-ranking police officer, the police helped destroy evidence, and A was never a good person. But while everyone was buzzing with discussion, A's family didn't stand up to explain, but quietly accepted the police investigation and moved from their exposed residence. A's father also took leave from the hospital he managed. Everything was left to the lawyer to handle. After 2 weeks of open police investigation, the appearance of several witnesses brought a new situation. The first witness was a person walking with a friend by the Han River. Around 3:15 a.m., he had seen from a distance a man dressed like hospital patient clothes. Because the man's behavior was a bit strange, he looked more carefully. He said that initially he thought the people lying on the grass were a male and a female because the two were very close to each other. Jungmin was lying with his left shoulder touching the ground, while A, wearing a baseball jacket, was half squatting beside him, holding a phone. It could be guessed that at this time, Jungmin's left shoulder was probably wet from spilled alcohol on the ground, resulting in the scene the first witness saw. Next, people who had by the police to be true. This means that during the period from 3:30 a.m. to 4:20 a.m., when Jungmin was last seen, the most important clue of the case is hidden, but until the fourth witness appeared, no one had seen A or Jungmin during this period. The fourth witness and two friends came to the Han River to fish. Where they were fishing was about 260 feet away from Jungmin by the riverside. They took a photo of Banpo Bridge at 4:33 a.m. With no success fishing, they were about to pack up and go for a drink when the group heard the splash of someone falling into the water. Turning to look, they saw a figure walking toward the river. The water level initially was around knee height, gradually rising to chest position. But that figure showed no signs of distress, just swimming forward. They thought this person wanted to swim in the Han River, so they packed up their things and left. By then it was 5:16 a.m. Was the person they saw really Jungmin? The initial location where Jongmin's body was discovered matched the location the witness pointed out where that person entered the water. Results measuring the flow rate of the Han River from the day he went missing to the day the body was discovered showed that this area had almost no current. It's very likely that the position where Jongmin was found was the position where he fell into the water until changes in the body caused it to float to the surface. Although there is currently no clear evidence proving that the person the fishing group saw was Jongmin, this also presents another possibility about Jongmin's death. For some unclear reason, he went into the river on his own. The terrain of this area has a shallow water area in front, but if you go a few steps further, the depth suddenly increases, and it's all mud. Even normal people who carelessly step in can easily get their feet stuck, let alone someone who was drunk. When Jongmin's body was discovered, his feet were without shoes, and the soles of his socks were covered with mud. After examination, the composition of this mud was very similar to the mud about 30 feet from the shore. These clues combined all point to one possibility. Jongmin, when going into the river, had his feet caught by the mud. After many struggles, unfortunately, fell into the water and lost his life. According to the autopsy report, the alcohol concentration in Jongmin's blood reached 0.154%, far exceeding the standard for driving while intoxicated, possibly exhibiting symptoms like loss of limb coordination. Moreover, due to alcohol causing blood vessel dilation, when encountering cold river water, shock was more likely to occur. For the case of falling into water due to an accident, Jongmin's close friend raised another doubt. Jongmin really disliked water, normally not wanting to go near water, so why after drinking would he suddenly change his personality so much? So is it really as Jongmin's father suspected, that A had planned to kill Jongmin? People have put forward several hypotheses. Hypothesis 1. A pushed Jongmin from the shore into the water. From the position where the two had their picnic, to get to the water, one would have to pass through an area of jumbled rocks. If A pushed Jongmin from the shore, he would be stopped by the rocks, halting at the shallow water area in front. The water level here wasn't even enough to cover the nose and mouth. If A dragged the unconscious Jongmin all the way to the shore before pushing him in, to push an adult man with a similar build to himself, A would certainly have to use a lot of strength, causing Jongmin's body to continuously scrape against the rocks. But his autopsy report showed that apart from one wound that wasn't a scratch on his head, other parts had no clear signs of abrasion. Hypothesis 2. A went into the water with Jongmin and drowned him. If this were the case, A would need to drag the drunk Jongmin to where the water was waist deep, then hold him underwater, preventing movement. A's clothes would certainly not avoid being completely wet. But in the surveillance footage capturing A leaving the park, or in the taxi A took home, no evidence of A's clothes being wet was found. If A were truly the killer, Hangang Park would definitely be a failed crime scene. Wanting to quietly drown an adult at the busy Han River shore, completing a perfect crime without witnesses would be very difficult. Experts also believe that if A were truly the killer, he would never return to the crime scene, be recorded searching for the victim with his parents, and would never announce to the outside that Jongmin's phone was in his possession, because these pieces of evidence could very likely become dangerous exhibits exposing the crime. On May 27th, the police held a press conference announcing the current investigation results. There was no evidence that could prove Jongmin was murdered. But the official stance of the police still couldn't convince a portion of the public who suspected A. Compared to the police investigation results, they were more willing to believe some YouTube videos. Poor quality images accompanied by mysterious commentary, mostly through fake videos or based on effects, created unsustainable conspiracy theories. In their videos, A was a cruel devil, a cold-blooded killer. To this day, the truth of the case has not been clarified. Although we don't know what the truth is, we can see that many things Jongmin's father said on his blog don't hold up. All are unverified personal speculations. But even so, there are still many internet users who, in the absence of evidence, support these hypotheses, firmly believing that A is the murderer. So what do you think? Was Jongmin's death truly an accident? Or was it his friend A's plan? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next videos.